Hello everyone, this is Samirian, and this is episode 17, the final episode of building a toy box from scratch. Uh, since the last episode, we've done quite a few tests running through the gameplay of this game, and we're finding that it's working fairly well. We're pretty happy with it, and I guess I'm using we in the royal sense for some reason. But anyways, there's a few final things we want to do, and then we're going to talk about submitting it and exactly how to set it up for the gameplay and the leaderboard I want with this game. So the first thing I know I want to do is looking over here at our control area. If you have a flyer and they don't know any better, they could hit this jump, lock themselves into flight, hold the jump for a while, and all of a sudden they are out of the cube. So we just want to cover the cube over really quickly here, just to make sure the player is completely locked in there. Simple enough. I've put a name onto the description, or onto the challenge maker title. I thought I put a name onto it, apparently I didn't. Ooh, that wasn't right. Rescue in the jungle. There we go. Good enough. Doesn't really matter what it says. But anyways, so we've now put a name on that challenge maker, and a new toy we've gonna have to add that we haven't added already is the toy box game maker. Strange. All right. Well, the toy box game maker is an interesting little tool. It primarily lets you save the game as a toy box game instead of just a regular toy box, and we'll talk about what the difference is. But it's also got a whole lot of filter options in it. I rarely touch them because I like them set to where they are. The only time I might touch them is down here. You can actually lock out certain characters. You can say that no flyers are allowed, no web swingers, that kind of thing. Unless it's really drastic, I generally don't lock down any type of character. I usually let players play with it whatever they want. And the options on default are to lock down the toy box completely. The player can't get to the editor, they can't change anything, they can't delete logic connections. They can just play your toy box the way you've set it up. They can't change it. So that's a toy box game maker. And it's primarily going to let us save the game as a toy box game. Now before we do that, we just want to make sure of a few things. The first thing we want to do is, because I want this to be a challenge that starts as soon as you load up the toy box game, I'm going to go into the challenge maker and I'm going to change the properties so that this first option, auto start on toy box game load, I think it works properly now. But in the patch prior to this patch, that actually broke, and the auto start would occur even if it wasn't a toy box game. Even on a regular toy box, it would auto start a challenge. And auto starting a challenge isn't too bad, but the quit toy box when game ended was also working in toy boxes. So if you set up your toy box and turned on these options, and then saved as a toy box, you could never edit that toy box again because it would auto start a challenge. And when you quit out of the challenge to try and edit or save anything, it would quit. So I generally leave these off until the very end now. I've already had a few toy boxes get locked out on me because of that patch. I just try to be safe. Now, as to the rest of the options in here, the game is going to be based on points. The results are going to be ranked. Highest point wins. All players will start at the same location, which is in the locked in area farthest to the right in the corner there. And the rest of these options, I don't care about vehicles or mounts and anything like that, so the challenge maker is now good. So we have the challenge maker, we have the toy box game maker, so I can now save this as a toy box game, and when I load the toy box game, it's going to auto start this challenge. Now, one other major thing we want to talk about, just because you see it a lot, and it's something people don't generally think of, but it's pretty important, is the screenshot. When you save the game, when you click that save button, whatever's on the screen is going to be the screenshot for that game. So a few basic points you want. If you don't want the player to see all your creative toys and stuff when they're playing the game, which even though it looks like mine are scattered around where everyone can see, the way the gameplay works is always through this camera. They're never going to see a creative toy. You don't want your screenshot showing a whole bunch of creative toys. You don't want it pointed at a door. You want to make it look interesting. And so how we're going to do that in this toy box is I'm going to have the jungle on fire when I save it as a toy box game. And I'm going to have the players standing somewhere in the fire over here. And of course I have Baloo down because he's perfect for a jungle book shot. So what we're going to do is we are going to move this button back down to the ground because this is the button that activates our special effects. I'm going to move it down here, and I'm going to press it to start our fire and smoke going. Now, you would be surprised at the lengths some people go for screenshots, and depending on the toy box, the screenshot really makes or breaks if someone's going to bother downloading it. Now, in this case, I'm not going to go for camera angle or anything like that. I'm just going to go and see what it looks like if I just put my character down in this incredibly smoky fire. And from this angle, the smoke looks great. I must say, I kind of like this. I'm not gonna, like, people will do poses. You'll find that at the end of effect or an end of attack, a character will look a certain way, will be posed a certain way. Special effects sometimes look really cool, and you just have to hit that save button at the exact right second to catch that pose. So I like this pose. Maybe I'll try to catch Blue roaring here for my screenshot. I could just have him dancing like that, but that really doesn't make sense in a fire. That looks pretty good. So I hit his push attack, and then I hit my option button because I'm on PS4 to get into the menu, and what's frozen on the screen behind me is what will save as a screenshot right now. Now, in order for a leaderboard to work, you have to have a few things set. You have to have, you can have multiple challenge makers, but it gets iffy. So if you do have multiple challenge makers, only one can have a results attached to it, either the time result or the score result. If more than one have a time or score result, leaderboard won't work. But the challenge maker you have has to have either the time or the score result attached to it, so either a scoreboard or a timer attached to it, or else you won't get a leaderboard because there's nothing to compare to. So that's one of the things. The other thing is there has to be an active toy box game maker in that toy box at the time that the challenge starts. You can get away with some iffy stuff, but I wouldn't recommend it. Safest bet, save it as a toy box game, which auto starts toy box game maker when you load the toy box, so that is perfect for a leaderboard. And another really important thing actually about the leaderboard is you have to tell the community staff you want one in your description. It's not an automatic process. There's no system that's looking to see if you're eligible for a leaderboard. It's only if you tell them you want one, they will then check to see if you're eligible for a leaderboard and then attach it. So you see here, I've already, because I didn't want to type this all out in the video, I've already done a basic save. I called it Rescue in the Jungle. As you can see, that screenshot is absolutely horrible on the screen right now. Like Creativitoys, and then there's Vision standing there for some reason in a Jungle Book challenge. It's just it's a horrible screenshot, but you will actually see a lot of toy boxes on the community content with screenshots like this. And I'm not going to say that's the reason they don't get a lot of downloads, but it doesn't help. We'll put it that way. So in the description, I just simply wrote, fires broke out in the jungle and the animals are in trouble. Only you can help guide these animals to safety. You have to put in a description that kind of captures the essence of what's going to be happening in this toy box. And you have to, again, try to grab the person to want to play it. So at the end, rescue as many animals as you can before it's too late. And then, of course, since it's being entered for the Jungle Book Challenge, I had to put the hashtag of Jungle Book Challenge. And for a leaderboard, this is what you do. At the end, LB, capital letters, leaderboard. Spell it out if you really feel you need to. Leaderboard. And then after that, you put either the word score, if it's a scoreboard-based challenge, or you put time, if it's timer-based challenge. And then the high to low or low to high, depending on how your ranking is supposed to be working in that game. That is the last option you need for a leaderboard. So we're going to save over this save. I've already got the name, the description. I'm saving it to my Disney Cloud. Primary gener. I don't know, what is this weird thing that we've created? What would you consider it? A puzzle, maybe? I'll put puzzle. Why not? And then I'm going to save. And then we're going to go back in and we're going to load it really quick so that A, we can look at the screenshot, and B, so we can make sure that the gameplay starts right away and we're happy with the final result. I also like to make sure that my cameras are functioning properly once I've saved it as a Toy Box game. So that's another reason I will reload it right away. So we're going to load Rescue in the Jungle, and here we go. In this screenshot, I see fire, I see jungle, I see smoke, and I see a roaring blue. I like this screenshot. This is a good screenshot to me. Much better than the last one where we had Ultron standing in a bunch of creativity toys. This gives you an idea of that jungle is on fire. There are problems here. So we're going to load this now. Should not take too long to load. It's not a huge build, so it'll give us again an idea of what the build screen is going to look like for the player as they're loading the game. In this case, they're going to see creativity toys, but I've come to the conclusion that I'm okay with that, just because this new world creation camera that circles around, you can turn it off, you can adjust things with it, but it's an automatic setting and I'm okay with it because it only shows a bit, unless it's a really long load. Here we're going to pop into the jungle, and then the challenge is going to move us into this little box that we created for ourselves. The text will pop up. I will say continue. I'm going to say, do you require instructions before we continue? Sure, let's run through the instructions really quick. Trying to save animals, you can move the camera. Camera pans to the right all the way. Animals will appear over here and start heading towards the river. Told us to guide them to safety. Camera pans to the left all the way. Kind of showing the player what kind of field they're going to be playing in. You can only control the animals that are in the blue circle. Guide as many to the river in 5 minutes. Watch out more fires. Who can help save the most jungle animals? And here we go. The game is on. Ironically, Mighty Jetta spawned right away with her wonderful critter sound. And the game is going. Of course, I've turned the music off, but the music is playing in the background. The game is playing. The camera's working. My controls are working, so I'm happy. So I'm thinking that the next step after this, I'm going to end the challenge, and because I've set it to quit when the challenge ends, now that we're in a Toy Box game, when I ended that challenge, it quits out of the Toy Box. Now, another reason I set it like that is because not many people cheat, and it's easy to cheat a leaderboard if you have access to get to the creativity toys. There's cheats to get around a Toy Box Game Maker, all sorts of things, but there's no cheat to get out of a challenge and then keep it from quitting. So this is a great way to lock that leaderboard so it's, I'm not going to say impossible, but it's difficult to cheat. Now, after that, after you've got all that done, the last thing to do is you would click Submit to Disney, and you would hover over your Toy Box Rescue in the Jungle. Once again, I can look at it, I can read over the description, check the screenshot, I like it, it looks good. And at this point, I just click Upload, and the Toy Box will upload, and I've submitted for the Jungle Book Challenge. So, thank you for joining me on this journey. I hope you've managed to make it the whole way through, and I hope I haven't bored you too much. Again, this is Samirian, and if you have any questions at all about the build, feel free to let me know, and I'll see if I can answer them. And thank you again for joining me, and have yourselves all a wonderful day.